All right. Welcome, everyone. We are here
Pendo.
oh, yeah, it's over there. Pendo. So this is Derek.
Hey, everybody.
Derek, say hello. Derek and I met how many years ago?
At least 3 or 4.
3 or 4 years ago. Derek, I interviewed him for a job at Dude Solutions, just like I interviewed Eric, who was on the stream not too long ago, and I did not hire either one of them. So it's payback for this. But everything's working out. So he's happy. He's at Pendo, who, if you haven't noticed, they're one of the top 25 companies to become that unicorn,
Yep, we just
company.
made the list of the top 25 companies that make $1 billion, so we're on our way.
So what? So would you know what you are right now? Like, are you like 100 million? Or are you
We're probably about 500 million.
500
That'd be
million?
my guess.
500.
500 million.
Really?
Yeah,
Like for real?
for real.
Holy crap! I didn't know you were there that fast.
Yep.
Okay, so it looks like chat's having a little bit of problems. So I'm going to ask Derek some questions, and then I'm going to see what's wrong with our stream. So Derek, talk about, you came into Pendo as a Scrum Master, correct? What state was Pendo Agile in?
So I've been here for 6 months at Pendo, and I came in as a Scrum Master, as Josh said, and we're a very fast-moving company startup, so everything is very ad hoc. So we didn't plan out too much ahead of 2 sprints. A lot of our features were just kind of, well, we'll deliver something out here at this specific date, and let's just work on it and not worry about it. So we've been working really hard. Josh has helped us out with some planning that we're doing. So we're calling it Pendo Planning. So we're coming up with that really soon, and we're really excited to get that underway and get it launched and get it running.
So that Pendo planning is similar to what I've called in the past PSI planning, or SAFE's big room planning, or PSI planning, or PI planning, whatever they call it.
Yep, so it's very similar, a lot of it. Josh came and gave us a little intro on what they're doing at Dude Solutions. We've kind of taken that, we've renamed it Pendo Planning. We had some people heard PI planning, so they went out and Googled PI planning and said, hey, what's this big safe thing? And we kind of didn't want to go there, so we renamed it Pendo Planning. And we're going to get that going. It's very similar, a lot of rolling wave planning, so meeting up monthly, looking out 6 sprints, and checking in every month to see how we're doing, and keep planning out 6 sprints ahead of time. And as we go along further, we'll get to having initiatives, epics, where we can t-shirt size those out for longer periods, maybe like 3 quarters or a whole year of epics that we want coming. So it's going to help the teams see what's coming. That's the feedback we've got from them, that teams want to see what's coming more than just 1 or 2 sprints ahead of time, having things drop on their lap. So hopefully Pendo Planning, I'm pretty sure it's going to help with those teams and make us more successful and be able to meet our goals, bring the divide of engineering and product together closer, be more collaborative, work together on our plans, and just keep making our customers happy.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you'll find is when you can pair, I guess not pair, it's 3. When you tie together your sprint plans, your Pendo planning, and then your roadmap planning, that's when everything just becomes silky smooth, because those teams start to see it out on that roadmap.
Exactly.
And then that changed the game for us. We got comfortable, we got confident, ag teams got happy, which was weird, but that was something that helped us. So that's exciting that you're getting that in place. I think giving it your own name is smart.
Yeah,
that seems like a good move, because then people stop trying to shove it into this other, that square peg round hole. Like what's right for you probably isn't safe.
Exactly.
So that's a really smart move. Maybe I should have done that at the Dude.
Yeah.
So lesson learned there. So don't always use the names, because it can get you into trouble. So that's something that you got to be careful about, because people will Google, people will then start making assumptions about what it is, what it isn't, and people will start trying to jam you into this cookie cutter that looks like what a framework says it should be, even though that framework might not be right for you.
Right. So be careful with that. Our CPO made the mistake. He said, "Hey, let's just do this. Let's just do this." And we said, "Okay, fine." And then he he was excited about it, PI planning, and he put it in there and actually put the link right to safe. So
Oh, no.
then there was a big thread after that of what's all this mean? What does that mean? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? I was like, I had to jump in like, no, we're not doing safe. Don't worry. It's just we just want to do the planning piece because it's cool and we like it, and we're just gonna iterate on that and make it a lot better for what Pendo needs, not what's every off-the-shelf framework says.
I feel so bad because I've done that. Like, I've done that. I've put things on slides, and then as the words are coming out of my mouth, speaking to like 100 people, I realize I'm not saying something I should be saying, and I try to unwind it, or it's just too late, and then you've got to, like, there was something at Dude Solutions where I spent 6 months unraveling something I said in the very first sprint. So that's one of those like painful things where you're like, oh my gosh, just shoot me, because it's no one else's fault but your own. Right? You're trying to do the right thing, and then you say something with the best intentions, and it gets taken differently than you intend, and now it gains steam, and you're like, oh gosh.
Right, you need to be a lawyer, right, and say, object to what he said. Okay, stricken from the record.
That
doesn't work out.
That'd be nice if we could do that. That'd be nice. Okay, so let's talk about what you're doing now. So you came in. It sounded like you had some of the same problems that everybody has. Came in, just the visibility, transparency, stuff coming down the pipeline was shorter than what people wanted. You've got things in place. Do you have your agile roadmap of where you guys are going and things you want to do? So you've got your Pendo planning. Do you have any idea what's next?
We have recently. So we hired a director of agile practices, Jessica Saraki. She's been here. This is her third week. So we've really been just hitting we have our own backlog, our own Kanban board of things that we want to start working on. So after we get Pendo planning, we're going to hit that board pretty heavy and be able to measure, okay, we made this change. We want to try changing something. Let's get some metrics around it, see if it's actually working. Yes, no. All right, try changing something else. We're really being conscious not to turn 20 knobs at the same time and then figure out, oh, we got some success. Which knob led us to that success? So we're really trying to be one thing at a time as much as possible, in some of those changes. So we've got a good list going on of what we want to do next, after we get through Pendo planning.
And you're hiring?
And we're hiring. So we just hired a Scrum Master, just started this week. We have another position that we're looking for to help a couple of teams, and I'm sure in the next 6 months we're going to hire another one.
All right, so you got a Scrum Master that you just hired.
Yep.
A Scrum Master you are hiring.
Yep.
From your perspective, how do you guys roll around number of teams per Scrum Master? Is it different per Scrum Master? That's one of those things I get asked that question a lot.
So right now, when I started, there was another Scrum Master or so, and I reported to her. And she decided she wanted to go another part of the business, so she went in another part of the business. We each had like 2 teams at the time. So now I'm doing 3 teams that I really support 100%. And then I have 2 other teams that I kind of watch out for and keep on track with them. But now with the new Scrum Master this week, he'll take one of those teams kind of off the back burner, and we get a new Scrum Master, those 2. But we're generally trying to go to 2 teams per Scrum Master. At the most. I don't want to overload. I overloaded for a few months until we hired, but we really don't want to do that unless we have to. And we have a Scrum Master as well in our Israel office. He's got 3 teams now, so he's probably on the edge of we need him to get help as well. Yeah,
that 3 is that. I found that 3 is the breaking point for good agile coaches, good experienced Scrum Masters. In the past, we've done things where we have a junior Scrum Master. And we just keep them compartmentalized to one team, let them get that. Then once they get that team rolling, once they figure out how to really grow as a Scrum Master, then they can start to spread their wings and start affecting more and more change. Yeah, the person we hired just started this week. We put him on one team for now. Yeah. Once he gets his feet under him, we'll get him onto another team. So the 3 teams that I have 2 that are Scrum. So that fills up a lot of facilitation blocks of time. The 3rd team, they're doing Scrumban, Kanban. They're kind of out doing their own building prototypes and figuring out. So there's less facilitation needed for them, so I can get them better. But they do more grooming. They do grooming like every day. Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess in Kanban you gotta be. So there's no edict on we are Scrum. This is the process. Every team must follow. Is it
No.
is it truly the wild wild west? And if somebody wanted to do waterfall, they could.
I don't think we'd allow waterfall, but we are open to, if you could present a case of, we need to use Scrumban, Kanban because we're a fast moving team. We also have another team that uses pure Kanban as they're our platform team. So their customer issue comes in, hey, I'm having performance issues I'm a big customer, having performance issues. They will drop whatever they're doing and go pick that up because that's higher priority. They can't plan out for 2 weeks because they're always pulling in, what's the hottest thing happening right now in Pendo on the platform side of it, not a feature team, but a platform side. So they kind of work that way, and that's worked out well for them. They need some help, but it's worked out well for them.
Cool. Okay. Well, for anybody out there watching the stream, I see a few people on the stream. If you have questions, please hit it on the chat. We are here ready to ask questions, but I'm just going to keep peppering Derek because if you didn't know, and we already hit it, Pendo's doing this. They are an absolute rocket ship. They are growing like crazy, so that presents all kinds of scaling questions.
Yes.
And Agile at scale, Scrum of Scrum, Scrum at scale, all those things. Do you have a planned methodology, or are you just going to see what works for you?
We're going to experiment and see what works for us best. And we're looking at kind of all these frameworks, Scrum at Scrum, Nexus, all less. We're looking at all these different parts. And there was a good article recently that Bob put out.
Oh, heaven. I don't believe it.
It was good. He went through each one and kind of listed out, what's really things you should really take a look at that are pretty good from these. So, we're trying to look at all different frameworks and pull out good parts of each and say, hey, this could work for us. Let's try it.
Right.
So we're not trying to be very prescriptive. We do Scrum of Scrums, especially with our teams in Israel, where they need, there's the window that we can talk to them is only like 3 hours every morning. So there's, you can't just go and talk to them whenever you want to. And they work Sunday through Thursday. We work Monday to Friday. So there's gaps in days where we're not working, they're not working. So those things. So really a lot of experimentation of what's going to work best for Pendo and, give best value to our customers. Cool. More than we're prescribing any particular type of framework of Agile.
Okay, cool. So, biggest challenge for you, and then we'll talk about for Pendo and being Agile.
Biggest challenge for me, probably the fast-paced nature of it, and also when you come to Pendo, there's not really much hand-holding. It's you're here, here's your job.
Yeah.
Go do it. Find stuff to do. I don't ask my boss, hey, I'm busy. I'm free. What do you want me to do?
So wait a minute.
Like,
you're telling me you guys have hired professional adults?
Yes, we have.
That is revolutionary. If only more people did that. It's weird how many people don't do that, and it's even more strange when you hire somebody and they know that's who you are, but they have such a history of being told what to do that you've got to reset them and be like, listen, I'm not here to babysit you. Yeah. Like, you've got a job to do. I need you to do it. You know how to do it.
Exactly.
Just go.
If you need help, raise your hand. You'll get help.
Right,
But that's one of our core values: bias to act. So people just do stuff here. My last company, if you wanted to make any change or anything like that, there was red tape, or you would talk to somebody and they'd be like, give you kind of whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Here it's like, I talked to our CEO Todd. I'm like, I've got this idea for this. It's like, go ahead and do it. I think that sounds great. Go do it. There's no have a meeting. Yeah. Let's discuss it more. He thinks it's a good idea. Go try it. Experiment.
You get bonus points for quoting a company value. That's man, look at you. All right, so hey, Fire Sue is here. Woo! Fire Sue. So Fire Sue, if you don't know, Fire Sue is one of the founding members.
All right.
Here, she helped me get this channel going. I asked for help, and she kept rallying people to come to our channel. Nice. So she's one of the key reasons why we're up to 50 followers.
Awesome.
So thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
I'm happy that you're back. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a stream in a while, so I'm very happy to see Fire Sue pop up. So hopefully things are well for you out in Dallas, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
So welcome back, Sue. All right, so we talked about biggest challenge for you. was that just that mental shift of I used to be at a company where I had to ask for everything, and now I've got to get out of the habit of
Yes.
asking and just start going and doing
You
it.
have to look around for things to do.
Right. Yeah.
Quality things to do. Go talk to people.
Yeah.
Hey Josh, I noticed at stand up this was going on. How can I help you?
Yeah,
Not just waiting for somebody to say, hey, this person over here needs help.
Yeah, I can remember as I progressed through my career, I finally got to where I didn't really have a boss, and like along the way, I'm like, okay, I want to make this change. Who do I go talk to? Oh well, should I go talk to the CEO? Like, no, I don't know. Like, it's your job,
right,
to come here and make this better. Just go do it. Don't check with anybody. So I completely understand.
Yeah.
That's such a mental shift, because potentially in your career you've had to ask before you do everything, and now you're empowered to go and do whatever you need to make it happen. And I can remember later on in that job, a developer came to me with a problem, and my first response to him was, well, what do you think we should do? And you would have thought I like punched him in the mouth, right? He was like,
right.
What do you mean? Why? No one's ever asked me that. Like, that's not my job.
Yeah.
My job's not to know what to do. I'm like, well, it is now.
Right.
Right. You're an intelligent developer. You can probably figure this out. So let's sit down and let's come up with your ideas. So that was, but it can be such a jarring thing.
It can be.
And you've got to work through the process of breaking that old habit and building a new one. So I've been there. I've been there myself. I've coached people through that. That's actually something that I've talked about in recent podcasts, where everybody's path is different, and we've hired very agile people. So they come in the hiring process, and we interview them, and they feel super agile. They want to be agile, but then they walk in the door and they start executing, and it's like you're a different person. Like, you're not who you said you were. But in reality, they have all these old habits of how they used to operate with their old organization, and now they've got it. You have to work through freeing them and getting them to realize that that's there. Okay, so we talked through that for you. I have a guess in my mind, but I'm not going to guess. Biggest challenge for Pendo from an agile perspective coming up?
I would say, and it is from the very beginning that I got here, is because, and another one of our values is customer, maniacal focus on the customer. It's another one of our values. So that, and people take that, I know, people take that really to heart. So when our teams are in sprints, there is stuff coming left, right, center, all over, right? And then, a big measure that we like on our teams is predictability. How much you're taking in versus what committed to versus delivered per sprint. So that really affects that. And so we use Slack a lot. So salespeople, customer people just put things in Slack. Hey, a customer, I'm just talking to a customer, they got this problem, and then 5 developers totally separately are working on it, not knowing that 4 others are. So then we just get people distracted, and then it takes a while for you to get back to figure out what you were doing before you got distracted.
Right.
So all those things are distractions here are very, very large. So that is one thing that's on our backlog, our agile backlog, is some type of funnel. How can all these things that come in from the left and right for these scrum teams, how can we corral all those and get them in properly? And some of them probably need to come in quickly. They're large customer issues that need to get fixed very fast, and a lot of them probably aren't. But right now there's no funnel or filter for those. Everything just comes to the team, and the team doesn't always know, is this top priority? Can this wait till the next sprint that we can take in?
And they're all doing things for the right reasons.
Exactly,
right?
100%.
They've got the best intentions.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying
That's
to
our
do the right
value,
thing,
right? Maniacal focus on the customer. But now as we scale, so we have 8, 9 scrum teams, and we get 20, 30 scrum teams. I mean, it's just going to get overwhelming. So we need to scale that a funnel of how work comes in, and it's not just the big user stories. It's every defects and bugs and everything coming into the team.
So do you have priorities for bugs, and bugs are categorized in buckets, and each bucket has a standard response time?
We do not. I don't think there's any SLA.
Right. So so we actually, in my CTO at my previous job, he's like, we're not saying SLAs. We're not agreeing to anything. We're going to have an SLO. We're going to have an objective. So we put SLOs in place with response times, so that way we knew. So we had P1, 2, 3, and 4. P1 being the most urgent, and SLOs said that P1s we would do our best to solve it within 24 hours, because P1 was everything's broke, like Things
Right.
are on fire. Customers can't do anything. So that's
Yep.
obvious. You've got to drop everything
Yeah.
and figure it out. The P2 is major functionality is not working. So
Yep.
that had a SLO of we're going to have that fixed within 5 days. P3 and P4 were like 30 days and 90 days.
Oh.
So we knew that only a P1 and P2 would be disruptive to a sprint.
Yeah.
So our POs would keep an eye on if it was a P1 or a P2, and if it was one of those, then they would figure out what team should get it, and
Yeah.
it would disrupt a sprint, and then what comes out.
Right.
But the thing that helped us, and it's going to be hard, is getting everybody on the same page with those SLOs
Yeah.
of what our expected response time is for us as an organization on these severity of bugs. So we actually had, we had 3 different time frames for each one. So it was initial response to customer, where customer support team would actually respond
Yep.
to them. And then there was internal communication updates, how often internally we were going to meet to give updates about
Yeah.
the issue. And then the third was what our target was for actually resolving it
Yep.
for the
Nice.
end customer. So like that P1, we were going to respond to the customer within 15 minutes or whatever it was. And then we were going to have every hour update people
Yep.
on progress. And then again, we wanted to have it solved within 24 hours. So then as we went down the path, those times got longer and longer. But we knew, okay, if a P3 or P4 comes in, great, cool.
Yeah.
It just goes in the
Right.
backlog. We'll figure it out. So that's
Nice.
a way that we tackled that. But getting to that, getting agreements
Objective.
on those across the organizations
Yeah.
is hard, because you think about customer support.
Yep.
They want everything solved right now.
Right.
Sales
They're the ones
wants
on the
everything
front
solved
line,
right
right?
now, right? So it's all those things, but getting those things in place
Yeah.
helped, but it wasn't bumpy, right, to get
Yeah.
there.
The only thing we have right now is Sev 0 and Sev 1 like have to be, you get people jumping on, we
Yeah.
create a new Slack channel, and those get fixed pretty quick, and then within 2 days we have to have a postmortem to walk through what happened
Yeah.
and what we're going to do about it and actions to
Yeah.
mitigate it happening next time. But other than that, we don't have any type of, but I do like that. It sounds
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would give that a shot.
Yeah.
And there's relatively standard time frames that are out there, and a lot of companies will actually publish those. But that at least gave us as a company a framework
yeah.
of how to talk about those things.
Were the customers aware of these time frames, or was it more internal?
That's a good question. So we would, when things came up, customer support would, okay, this is a P1, here's the expected response
Yeah.
time, here's what we're going to do. If it was a P2, we would give them the same kind of information, but if it was a P3 and 4, we didn't even talk
Yeah.
about it. Like, okay, cool, thanks, we got it.
Right.
We'll get to it. I don't think we had it wasn't public facing, it wasn't in contracts, it wasn't that's why my boss was so insistent that it's an objective,
Right.
not an
Yeah,
agreement.
exactly.
He didn't want to agree to things and have contracts,
Yeah.
paybacks and all that
Right.
jazz. We didn't want to get there. So, but that was our
Good
target,
idea.
but at least gave us a common language for how
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that.
Cool.
And then you've got to work through defining what a P1 is and what it isn't, and the
Yeah.
intricacies of, well,
Yeah.
what is a major feature, and what, it's like, oh,
we have a
gosh.
lot of that in place. It's just we don't have any
Yeah.
set time frames of when we're going to get
Gotcha.
those fixed or get back to people.
Yeah, cool. I got you. Yeah. Okay. So, my expectation for what your biggest challenge was going to be was scale, right? Because you and I talked before we
Yep.
started streaming, and you went from I'm going to put words in your mouth based on what we talked about. You can tell me I'm wrong. Since you started, you were at 100, and now you're like 240,
Yep.
and then you expect that trend to continue. And you've been here for 2 years.
I've been here for 6 months.
Is that what?
6
You've
months.
only been here for 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you've been here longer than that.
No. Started in April.
Man, okay. Well, I'm losing my mind apparently. So 6 months, we've gone from 100 to 240. Expect that
Double.
growth to continue.
Double in the next year.
Double in the next year,
Yeah.
and
Just keep
will
going.
it slow down? Like, I don't
That's
imagine
some
it
projections.
slowing
Yeah,
down.
I don't see
Yeah.
any.
So like you talked about going from 9 teams to 10 teams, and you've got to get things right now, or else it's going to
Yeah.
be hard to unwind. So that's
Yeah.
going to be an interesting.
Yeah, that's
challenge.
why when I came in, and we just can't scale. That was my first thing when I talked to you about
Yeah.
your PSI plan that you're
Yeah.
doing at Dude is from just when I came in with for 4 teams and a couple teams over in Israel we had at that point, it's like, we're not going to scale just looking out 2 sprints.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, a dumpster fire here.
No one likes a dumpster fire. No.
Mm-mm.
No. Fire suit's the best. Look at that. Congrats, good news. This is why it's fantastic.
Nice.
Fire suit here. So cool. Well, anybody, again, if you're out there, if you haven't already, hit that follow button. You can now hit the subscribe button, which costs money, unless you have Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime.
Ooh.
So if you have Amazon
I got
Prime,
Amazon Prime.
You have Amazon Prime, you connect that to your Twitch account, you subscribe to me, that helps pay for the stream, which is cool. Maybe someday I'll be like Ninja and be making $1 million. Yeah, I have it like Ninja right now. Let's see, Ninja right now has 47,000 people watching him, so we've got a ways to go.
Call your friends.
But you got to start there, right? You can't get to 47,000 without getting to 10.
One at a time.
Right. So we're getting there. Cool. So let's talk about your career path to Scrum Masters, because there's a lot of people that are in this stream that I know, or that watch the stream later or on YouTube that are trying to get into the Scrum Master role.
Yep.
And maybe they weren't in a Scrum Master role. They're trying to transition into that. What was your path to becoming a Scrum Master?
So I started my career as a QA automation engineer. I was writing VB, C++, Java code. Did that for probably 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. And the company I was at was a startup. It was a couple thousand people, a little larger startup than we are here. And so they were looking for project managers. The dev leads, the managers were doing all the project stuff. So I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. I'd like to give that a try. So I got into project management. I was PMP certified, all that. My huge Microsoft projects. I was kind of getting burned out after like 5 or 6 years. I was like, I was feeling like I need to find something, go back to QA. I was just burnt out from being a project manager. And we got acquired at the time by another company. And we had like a big meetup of the 2 divisions to see, what we're doing the same, different, just, big discussions. And so we had like a couple days of different session slots that they'd created, like a little mini conference. And one of them was Agile. And I was like, oh, I never heard of Agile before. This was back in 2007. So over 10 years ago, I've never heard of Agile. So I went to that and I talked to the guy and I was like, wow, I like this. I was really interested. So I dove headfirst into learning everything I could about Agile and Scrum. I talked to people. I'd get on the phone with Mike Cohn, just get a hold of him. Literally,
how did you do that? Like you just
I got his number and I called him, and he talked to me for an hour.
Wow!
I was just so gung ho. I just wanted to talk to anybody that would talk to me about Agile. So I just got on the phone and talked to these people. I talked to Schwaber on the phone. Literally, not even a joke. It's crazy. It's crazy when I think about it now.
Yeah, right.
But so I just learned, and then when I thought I had enough knowledge and I understood, I went to like the VP, the company I was at, and I was like, hey, I'd like to really pilot a team, do an Agile Scrum. I got on his whiteboard and wrote, everything about Agile and Scrum and what we could do, and I kept bugging him and convinced him. I said, I want to do a pilot team. We're ending our project in like 2 months, and we're going to start a new one. I was like, I want to start it, in July of that year. I was like, but I need your help, and I need some money to bring somebody in for help training, because I can't just do it myself.
Right.
So they were like, they believed in me, and they bought into it. And like, yeah, we'll give you, $5,000. Go get a trainer to come in, a couple times. This is great. I started, building the backlog. Got the product owner, product manager. All started building the backlog, getting ready for when we were going to have a kickoff. So the trainer came in, Michelle Sliger, if you know her. She came in, kicked us off in the first planning, and we had a big room, which we wouldn't usually use, but there was like people in the back wanted to watch and observe what was going on. So did that, ran a bunch of sprints, and it was successful. After about 12 months, most of the development teams in that company were doing Scrum and Agile, and that's where I jumped in and started helping other Scrum Masters, helping people that needed it, helping other teams, and just kind of went from different company to companies, after a while. You get a bad boss, unfortunately, and it's like, okay, this isn't going to work anymore. I'm going to find somewhere else to take my Agile Scrum trade. So got to a few other companies. So that's how you got started, and you just bounced around? Yeah, I just bounced around. My last company, I worked at Dell EMC, while we were bought by Dell, and then they were doing SAFe. I was an RTE and kind of got tired of that, and I was like, all right, I need to get back to Scrum Mastering, because that's kind of where I really like working with teams, working with people, helping organizations, kind of more at that scale. So I was like,
Right.
I'm out of safe, but it took me a while to, find Pendo, but
So there have been a couple people, like I said, that I've talked to in the past like 2 weeks that are trying to break in, and to me, you just backed me up on everything I told them. In talking to them, what I realized is they have that Scrum Master mentality. Like
Yep.
there's something in people's brains where they have that natural reaction, and the reactions are the right one for the
Yep.
role. But they haven't had an opportunity to exhibit that in a traditional
Yep.
agile team or a traditional Scrum Master role. So my advice to them is find something
yeah,
and be a Scrum Master.
Yep.
Find something in your current company, project, whatever, and pretend you're a Scrum Master. Don't
Yep.
ask.
right,
Just start doing Scrum
Exactly.
Mastery things, and value will be provided, right? If you really are Scrum Mastering, you're going to add value to pretty much any project, whether it's agile or not. You're going to start making things better. So just if you're trying to get there, just go make it happen,
yeah,
right? But you've got to have that initiative and find something, and then just kind of like you did, like you discovered it,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you weren't going to ever look back. You're like,
No.
I'm just going to make this happen, and
Yep.
the fact that you called Ken Schwaber and Mike Cohn, I don't know how you got their
Crazy.
number, but the fact that you called them and you talked to them, that's okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. Whoever I need to talk to, I am going to do it. So for those of you that are out there, Derek's done what you're trying to do. So he's living proof that it can and will be done.
Yeah.
You just got to decide and put that difficult time and energy in to make
Just
it happen.
reach out and network with people. Another story I have, not going to be a name dropper, but I had been chatting back and forth with Lisa Atkins.
You've already name dropped two of the biggest ones.
So I'll add Lisa Atkins. It's just going back and chatting with her because I was reading some of her books. I liked her open questions, stuff that she did, and I just reached out and talked to her. And one time I just asked her, say, can you get on the phone for an hour and talk about open questions with like 3 other Scrum Masters at my company? She was like, yeah. When do you want to do it? I was like, it was that simple for her just to help us out. People, if somebody contacted me and asked me a question out of the blue, I would help. I would jump in and help wherever I could. So just, don't be afraid to ask people, network with people that are agilists, and and just say, hey, can you do this? They're gonna help you out.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. Like I've talked on our podcast before about Spotify. So we adopted parts of Spotify at Dude Solutions, and we were beginning to grow. We were beginning to plan out our second space. So when I got there, the space for the Agile teams was defined. The furniture was already bought. There wasn't really much I could do. But now we were adding a second space because we were growing. So I had the opportunity to basically design the space the way I thought it should be done. So I started researching like crazy. And not only did I like Spotify's approach to how they do parts of Agile, I liked their approach to how they built team spaces. And I had submitted a talk to a conference, and one of the reviewers turned out to be one of the leaders in the Agile process at Spotify. And she rejected my talk, which was cool. That's okay. But she had good dialogue, and we went back and forth. She kept asking questions about, well, what are you trying to do? Just really good questions. So towards the end, I said, hey, cool that you're not taking my talk, but can I borrow your brain to ask a few questions about the space and why you've done it? Do you like it? Would you do it differently? And she said, yeah, sure. Actually, let me get these 3 other coaches on the phone, and we'll call you. We'll talk for an hour.
Right.
So she was leading Agile at Spotify. She had a coach from Europe on. She had a coach from New York City on.
Nice.
And they answered questions for like an hour and a half. She ended up sending us blueprints. Nice. She sent us blueprints for their building. These are the exact dimensions of what we built for our teams. And they didn't have to do that, right? It just was, hey, here we go. So that was really cool. Eric's here. Hey, Eric. Welcome. So the topic of conversation has been really interviewing Derek. and asking questions. Our most recent topic has been transitioning into a Scrum Master role.
Yep.
There's a lot of folks on Slack channels or directly here on our streams or email or whatever that have reached
Yep.
out to me saying, hey, I want to get into this role. How do I do it? And so Derek walked us through his path towards becoming a Scrum Master and how he got there and the challenges that he went up against and how he tackled those. So that's where we've been spending the last few minutes. I've been asking a million questions about Pendo and Agile and everything that they're doing because they are a absolute rocket ship, which is cool and exciting, but also super
Scary.
challenging, right? Scary, right? It's all those things.
Yep.
But we've got some good things in place. You have good leadership here, so I know Todd, and I know Todd's a good dude. I know he cares about the right things, so
Definitely.
that helps.
Yeah, having support definitely helps. So we have a new Agile practices leader. She's kind of at that higher level, so there's a lot of things, positive things of even the 3 weeks she's been here, just to get that support. Going back one more example to the helping people that are kind of new and want to get in. We have an employee here at Pendo. He has interest in being a Scrum Master. So I've been mentoring him, and he comes and watches different ceremonies. And what we want to get to is over the next few months, he'll step in and run a grooming session. You know, just do it, and afterwards, when he comes to a session, we talk about what happened, different areas, so he can get that experience. And in the future, we'd love for him to just step into one of these positions that we're opening. But right now, it's a mentoring, and it's working out really well. So if you're at a company that's doing Agile and you want to get in there, go talk to Scrum Master and say, hey, can I mentor with you? Can I watch you? Can I compare notes of what you're doing to understand why you're doing it? And
yeah, the number of companies that we had come in at Dude Solutions to just kind of see what we were doing, because we were doing some different things and word started to get out. So we had a ton of people come in. We even had teachers come in. We had some schools come in because they had heard about Agile. They wanted to see what it was. They thought about how they could implement it in school. Is it something we should teach our kids? And it actually was a vocational school. So they had some programming, they had some traditional vocational options, but programming was one of those things. And they said, well, we should probably understand this Agile thing. So it was cool seeing them come in and not only figure out how they could apply it to their students, but then they started thinking about how could we apply it to just the way we all work together. So there was some really cool stuff. And then we also would host Scrum Masters. So there were multiple people in the situation where they want to be a Scrum Master, they don't know how. They would come in and shadow our coaches for a sprint. So they would come in at the start of the sprint, be there for planning. They'd come in for a couple stand-ups, come in for refinement, come in for the retros at the end, and just sit and learn. But the one thing that continues to amaze me is what you said, that it's amazing how willing people are to help. You just ask, and people will help. And it's apparently the nature of who we are as Agile coaches, right? We just want to help.
Exactly.
And then when you see one of your own, and we've all been there, we all got here somehow. Somebody had to give us a break. Somebody had to be willing to buy into us and who we were and where we were going. So everybody's willing to give back.
Definitely.
So it's definitely there. Don't be afraid to ask. I'm not sure I ever would have looked up the phone number for Mike Cohn. And said,
where I got it from was I don't even know how I remember. I think I got it from Michelle. Or I don't even know, but it ended up, when I talked to him, I wanted him to come and give us the training for the first team that I was at. And he was like, well, I've already booked for that week that you guys want to do it. And he's like, but I have a really great person that I'd recommend named Michelle Sliger. She's kind of just started off, she was working with Mike, and now she's started off on her own company doing consulting. I was like, go with her. So I've actually gone with her 2 different companies to come in and help, start us off on Agile. So that was cool.
Cool. Well, 2 things. Sue, thanks for coming. Go get them. Eric, what's going on? What questions do we have for Derek? We actually talked about doing this again at some point in the not too distant future. I know I've got to get back to Eric. I got to get Eric answering some of these same questions. I don't think I did a good enough job peppering Eric with questions like I have done for you. So I feel bad. I feel like I've put you through the ringer, and I got to put Eric through the same ringer.
He's got to go through it.
Yeah, so if there's anybody else out there that has a company I'd love to come out there and ask you questions, and
Yeah.
again, share other Agile stories across the state, across the country, across the wherever. Be happy to come out and see you and host one of these and just start getting the word out about the cool stuff that's happening out there, trying to shine a spotlight on all the positives that are going on out there. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So, let's see. You mentioned before we started streaming, that there's this kind of offshoot team that's going out there trying new things. That's that good, cool, exciting, innovative R&D investment that companies have to make so they don't get lapped, so they don't get beat by somebody else that's doing those things. Is that running in the same process, or does it matter, or?
So they're running more Scrumban. So mostly they're pulling things. You know, it's a pull system. We don't do any planning. They're just pulling as they're going through. They have work in progress limits on their columns in the board, but they do Scrum like they have to demo every 2 weeks. They have stand up every day. We have sized cards. We're experimenting. They're doing Kanban board. We're still sizing the cards. We check how much they're going through in 2 weeks. How many points go through the board in 2 weeks. We're also looking at lead time, things like that. Your classic Kanban stuff. They retro a lot. So we have an open board to keep track of retro items. When we get 3 or 4 things in there, we just schedule a retro. There's no running every 2 weeks. It's more as we go, as needed. We just retro. We've been really changing up. We've been doing a lot of storyboarding. We'll just get in a room and just start throwing sticky notes of what we need to do. Higher ups, since this is kind of a skunk works type thing. Things are changing rapidly, so we tear things down, go back up to the board, redo it again. So it's really been really on the fly collaboration. I think a lot of times they work well. They've gone up to some rooms up on the floor that we're on now, and just to get away from everything else, just be in a room and just bounce ideas and collaborate really tightly in a real close situation. And that's kind of how it's worked for them. But there's been a lot of, we should do this better, and changing it up for the next quarter. They basically, every quarter they're getting a different direction of things to build. Right. And at some point, the stuff they build will go to the feature teams to continue on to building, and they'll just go back to the next thing, whatever the next project is that our CEO or executives think area that we want to try. We'll get put to them, and they go with it for a quarter.
Cool. All right. Well, Fusion's in the house. Thanks for stopping by Fusion RL. So welcome. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. We'll be happy to help. One of the things that I wanted to just continue digging in on how Pendo does Agile, your teams are co-located.
Yes.
You have what's become the relatively normal open seating profile. You guys even actually have the power coming down from above, it looks like. So teams sit close to each other. Do they sit facing each other, or do they sit back to back?
They're back to back each row. So we just have rows of tables, and each team is basically in one row. So they'd be sitting back to back. Scrum masters are usually right on the end caps of those, and we work it. It's kind of, there's been a lot of question about the open space, if that's helpful or not. It's so we've been in this building since February. It's very it's concrete. There's not much stuff. So we're looking at getting some noise.
Soft.
No, it's not soft at all. It's very hard. Yeah. So we're looking to get maybe some type of noise dampening, because it does get loud across. You have 5 teams across one open space, so it can get noisy at points, and people walking by. The washroom is right near the engineering, so there's constantly the one washroom. So everybody in the company is walking by, and it does get a little noisy, and so we're looking to clean that up a little bit. The company is trying to work on that a little bit.
Yeah, the thing that, and actually you guys have done a pretty good job, is as we evolved, we started doing a better job of providing breakout space. You guys have a ton of meeting rooms along the wall. What we found out was the more casual breakout spaces made a bigger difference. So for us, it was the couches, right? So there were a ton of couches in different places, and actually the couches had high walls behind them. So it was almost like you had this little room. So those were where people would go and have those breakout discussions. And initially, we were just like you, right? And it was just a big open room, and there was a lot of noise. That Spotify model that we went to every team was fully encapsulated. So they have their open seating, but they also have their own breakout room,
Yeah.
so that they can break out there. And they also, we didn't have as much space as Spotify. So Spotify has their open spaces. Then they have a loose meeting room that's pretty much open, but there's couches.
Yeah.
There's a TV for
Nice.
sharing things. There's a whiteboard. Then they have a closed door 2 or 3 person breakout room.
Yeah.
And every team has that own little pod. And so those breakout rooms made a huge difference for us. And we found that the rooms, unlike this, where this is a breakout room, but it's a bit more formal.
Yep.
We found that the informal breakout rooms made a huge difference for us, and that's when people started to gravitate and almost like try and lay claim. Like they would get there early. Like there was this one green couch that people were always at the green couch, and it was always like, who could get to the green couch? And that started to make a difference, and people were having a much better option to focus. So I think the open space is fine, but it's got to be paired with good, healthy, safe breakout spots.
Yeah, we have we're up on our 15th floor right now, which is pretty much empty. We haven't moved up here yet, but in the 4 corners up here, they've set up the same desks and monitors that we have at your regular seat. So you can just come up here with your laptop, plug it in, and just work right away in the corner. So I think some teams have picked out times like, hey, let's just go up to the 15th and work in the corner. So it's the same setup, up and down desks. You can raise them, lower them.
Right.
But you can just plug your computer in, and you got your monitor and everything, and you just come and go as you please. We have a lot of couches around, and especially in the 4 corner rooms on 14 as well. Make it a little more casual.
Yeah.
That's where we do our stand-ups too. But I do wish, that's one thing I wish, that each team kind of had like a space like this where you could set up, just work, have your own TV, be able to do your planning, your stand-up, your grooming, kind of all in one little pod. That would be really cool.
That's what we ended up doing, was every team had their own meeting room, essentially, where all their ceremonies were held, and they had their screen, they had a whiteboard that was on the wall, plus the rolling whiteboard that they had that carried all their stickies with them. But that gave them everything, just like being fully cross-functional, that gave the team everything they needed to be successful in the process. So that helped. There were things that, I wish I could have done better. It was better than the first space. There's still things, looking back now, that I would do a little bit differently, because you lose a little bit. Ours were too closed off, so there was a door to get into it. So everybody was siloed off more than I would have liked. So it gave the teams what they needed, but it also reduced some of the water cooler effect of just bumping into, because they had everything they needed. So it was like, why would I go outside?
Why would I leave?
Yeah. So we tried to find that delicate balance.
Nice.
For us. Okay. Cool.
Very cool.
Well, we're nearing the end. If you have any questions, now's the time.
Don't wait.
To ask Derek. It sounds like we are going to be back at some point, which will be cool. Maybe we get some other folks on.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Get some other Scrum Masters.
That would be good. I'll have to get more microphones. I'll figure that out. This will be on YouTube probably later today or tomorrow, along with this morning stream. So as a reminder for everybody, we do have streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. We will have other one-off streams like this where we go and visit, potentially at other random times. So we'll publicize those out on our social media channels.
Yep.
So thank you to Derek for letting us come in, see
no
a part of Pendo, hear how things are getting here. I think everything you shared is going to be super helpful to people. I know it's going to be super helpful for those trying to move into the role, because just people need to hear more and more of their stories. So thank you for sharing that.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
You have anything? You cool?
No, all good.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Well, thank you, sir. We'll see you, everybody.
Bye.